Okay, with that said, our meeting is called to order. Please stand for the flag salute and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence.
Since our last meeting in March, we have had 6 firefighters and 23 police officers. We'll take a moment of silence.
Meeting this month, it's unique, Zoom-oriented type of meeting, and it's something we haven't done before. So if there's anybody out there, please bear with us. We'll muddle our way through this. First order of business today is the presentation of awards and staff recognition for 3 members. Chief Troutwine, would you like to start that?
I most definitely would. Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Board. And good evening to all those who are Zooming into our meeting. In fact, I see one of our 3 employees that we want to honor tonight on our Zoom, so I hope he can hear us okay. So we have 3 employees that we'd like to recognize tonight for 30 years of service. So 3 full decades, all here at SFD. And so we are really proud of these employees and really they're solid, outstanding employees that we have a lot of respect for. So the first one we want to recognize is Engineer Medic Jeff Scalp with 30 years of service. His employment history with SFD back in 1990 is when Jeff started as a volunteer. And then in 1994 is when he transitioned to our career voluntary agency as a full-time firefighter EMT. And in 1999, Jeff became a medic certified, and also 2001 he promoted to engineer medic, and he's also been an acting captain. One of the things that Jeff did prior to our employment with us was a mechanic. He spent time at Bill's Automotive for half a dozen years, so he comes as a highly skilled engineer to us. He's received numerous special commendations, including 2 unit citations in 2014, 2015. Also, multiple commendations for EMS, fire, assessment center assistance, engineer committee participation, and ISO work and teamwork. He does have an associate's in fire science, so we honor Engineer Medic Jeff Scalp, 30 years of service. The second employee we'd like to honor is Engineer Medic Tim Kriegel, who also has 30 years of service. And like Jeff, Tim started back in 1990 as a volunteer here. And in 1998 was when he was hired as a full-time firefighter here with the Sedona Fire District. And also he became a certified paramedic in 1998. He became an acting engineer in 2002 and promoted to engineer medic in 2003. Currently also he's an acting captain. He's had a lot of pre-employment experience, landscaping, roofing. He was a lineman, which shows Tim's a hard worker and he gets the job done. He's had numerous awards and special commendations. He had a unit citation in 2014. He also has volunteered for our burn camp, diabetes camp, MDA Field of Boot, Alzheimer's. He's one of our CISM team members since 2005. He's had multiple commendation over the years for EMS response, fire response, assessment center assistance, and also teamwork. So we congratulate Tim on his 30 years of service. So the last employee we'd like to recognize tonight for years of service is Kirk Rydell. He was also an engineer medic with 30 years here with the SFD, and like Jeff and Tim, started back in 1990 here as a volunteer. There's a theme there. He was hired as a full-time firefighter in 2005 and became an acting engineer in 2017 and promoted to engineer EMT in 2017. One of the accomplishments of Kirk also was his military service with the U.S. Army in 1983 to 1987, where he was a corporal, maintenance supervisor, tank commander, and RTO. He, like his two co-employees, has many awards and special commendations. He's had 2 unit citations, one in 2014, one in 2015. He was also Firefighter of the Year in 2010. He's had multiple commendations for EMS response, RBO committee for our self-contained breathing apparatus, and ISO work. So we do pause for a moment and again recognize all 3 of these outstanding employees for their 30 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, congratulations to all 3 of you. Board members, if any of you would like to comment on any of them, please step forward to the mic. Gene, any comments you'd like to make? Mm-hmm.
Yes. 30 years. My goodness. That's a long time, isn't it? And in 1990, well, I've been retired since 97, so it really affected me when you said that. And my congratulations to all 3 for their service to the community, their families, and to this country. Thank you.
Al?
I am not a, I never was a fireman in my past, but I was listening to the chief describing these 3 gentlemen and their life experiences in the last 30 years. And in my mind, I was imagining all the calls that they had been on, all the places of danger and trauma and holding people's hands, all the emotional things that they had to be capable of handling. And even though I don't know it, I just know it, that was really what makes these people really exceptional is they went through more than what most of us will ever go through in our lifetime. And then they come back to work the next day and do it again. So with that, I'm extremely proud to know these gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, very good. Corey, how about you?
Sure. Well, I'd like to say thank you to these 3 gentlemen, these 3 engineers and captain, acting captain, for being with us, for sticking with us for 30 years and year by year growing in their experience, their abilities, and giving those skills, using those skills for our citizens. So we're very appreciative of their longevity.
Thank you. And I'd just like to add, again, congratulations. 30 years in any one career field is a long time, and it goes by really in a blink of an eye. But the position of engineer is probably the most coveted position in the fire service, above all. Your main responsibility is that of that apparatus that you drive, and getting your crew there safely, and ensuring that pressures that you pump keep the crew safe. Back at the station, your leadership is looked at or looked for every single shift by that captain. You are the buffer between the crew and the captain, and you're looked, as I just said, you were looked towards and for that leadership. And much like the captain is the buffer between the crew and the chief, it goes without saying that you are a leader amongst the crew, and the captain never fails to recognize said or not. So congratulations to your accomplishment of 30 years of service. I hope the next 30 years are as enjoyable as the past 30 years. So congratulations to you all. Thank you, Chief. Pardon me? Joy, are you on the line? Okay. With that said, at this point in time on the agenda, we have an executive session before us. I'll motion to go into executive session on personal matters pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1 in regards to the fire chief's evaluation and legal advice pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 regarding the same. Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this meeting is now going to executive session. Please leave your mics on. With that
Awesome.
said, if you're ready, we are ready. Okay. Let me reopen back into open session. As a result of executive session, I'd like to motion to direct the chief that he has given the motion is that the evaluation, I'm tongue-tied here, the evaluation has been approved and is now ready for inclusion into his personal file. Please place that in your file. So with that said, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Excuse me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion is passed. Thank you, Chief, again. Thanks again.
Thank you, Chair.
In the previous opening of the meeting, we presented 30 years of service to 3 members. We were unable to get all the comments from all the board members. So at this time, I'd like to include those comments from Joy Moore, the one board member who is with us telephonically. So Joy, if you'd like to add your comment at this time for the 3 members, please do so.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Board Chair. So I wanted to congratulate all 3 of you. 30 years is an amazing amount of time to, be as dedicated as you guys are. Tim Kriegel and Jeff Scalf I've known personally for quite some time. And I give them, extra feelings from my heart. And thank you so much for doing such wonderful work. Especially like engineer, that's huge. I mean, that's, kind of the heart and soul of the district when you're going on a call, and I appreciate all the great work there. And Kirk Rydell, I don't know you very well, but I want to thank you, and I know of your work, and I know that it's been amazing. It's been just about flawless. I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart as a board member, as well as a member of the public who has been in receipt of your care. On a personal level, as well as with my family, I want to thank all 3 of you, and I just support you 100%, and thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Well said. Okay, at this point in time, it's 4 o'clock, 5 after 4. It's time to get into our budget workshop. Do we have Gabe on the line?
Yes, I am here, Mr. Chair.
Okay, with that said, let's begin our budget workshop with our finance director, if you will, Gabe Boldra.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Good, I guess, talking to you guys. Hope everybody's doing well. So on Monday, we spent over the full budget. I'm sure. Actually, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure you've all had plenty of time to read through every piece of it. So what I do want to do is cover it and then allow the board the next month to really review the budget and for myself, chief, or staff. And then, we'll come back in May and have another, budget session on the budget. So starting off today, I kind of want to give again the board an update on where we're at in the process and the schedule. We'll go over revenues for 2021, all the expenses for 2021. The capital plan is still in development, so we're really not going to cover that too much today, other than the fact that I cover and discuss kind of our funding to our capital plan and where we're at on that. An allocation of our total fund balances, and then an overview of our budget projections, and then a draft budget for the board. So with that, kind of update on schedule and where we're at. So, we've spent from the beginning of January to about now, working with program managers and vendors on getting folks back on we obviously received our assessed valuation numbers, PSPRS numbers. We've been working with program managers, staff has been, and we've really had everybody kind of go back to the drawing board on some of their requests and see, where they can make some cuts, and really get this budget dialed in to a tight number. Obviously, we're here today for the board workshop with the fire board. At this point, obviously, today we are presenting you with the full budget for your review. We'll continue after this meeting to work on fine-tuning some numbers, and then by May have a full budget presentation to the board and ask for adoption. And then we'll post for the statutory 3 days and come back in June and ask for the board for final adoption. That's kind of where we're at right now on our budget process. So moving in to the number side of things. So starting off, we did see a 5.2% increase in assessed value. As the draft stands today for this presentation, we're looking at a rate of 2.5277. As I mentioned, there are still some things in here that need to be evaluated, and I believe we can get that number down. Because right now, we're looking at tax revenues of $15.6 million, which is an increase of 943,000. Right now, our FDAT number in the budget is still the same number we had in last year, which is estimated at 404,000. On our non-levy revenues, we made some changes on the non-levy revenue side to really kind of bolster our budget from a reliance on the levy, but also make sure that we have better tracking and better accountability of our wildland revenues. So starting off, we are going to increase the budget by 2% on ambulance revenue and take that number to $1 million. Communication rents are going to increase by 2.5%, and that's based on their contracted renewal rates. On wildland revenue, we did analyze a 6-year history of revenues and expenses for the district. We also compared that to that we've analyzed on other districts across the state, and so we figured 500,000 wildland revenue. We would have direct employment costs of 50,000, overtime costs of and wage costs of another about 300,000. And really, what we wanted to do was that the net profit from wildland or any profitability from wildland wasn't utilized to balance our budget. And so when we get to later in the presentation, you'll see where that calculated or budgeted profitability of wildland goes, so it doesn't impact our operating budget. Say, for example, we have we don't see 500,000 wildland revenue. It's not going to impact our operating budget. Interest income, we held at 50,000, and miscellaneous revenues for community risk reduction, training, donations, etc., are at 159,000. Questions on revenues at this point?
Yeah, Gabe, are those revenues that you have demonstrated there, are those based on history or just projections? For example, the miscellaneous revenue at 159,000, or the wildland revenue, it looks like the wildland revenue would be more of a historical where we're at. We just added that into it. Is that how you kind of came up with those numbers?
Yeah, so all of our revenues with the exception of property tax, that's calculated based on tax rate or assessed value and whatever tax rate we need to balance the budget. But the non-levy revenues are all developed based on historical performance or contractual obligations. So, a lot of those miscellaneous revenues, community risk reduction, training, all of that stuff, we look at our historical performance. Same thing with wildland. We analyzed the 6-year history to come up with that $500,000 number. But where communication rents, that revenue number is based purely upon our current contracts for combination of the two, but I would say the majority of it is based on our historical performance.
And there was one item on this non-tax levy revenue, which is item 4150, an N as in Nancy, D as in dog, fire revenue, ND fire revenue, that showed like a 400% increase. Can you kind of comment or clarify what that is?
Yeah, so that ND fire revenue stands for non-district fire revenue, and that is our wildland deployment. So that's why that number was historically budgeted really low, but there was no expenses budgeted tied to it. And so this year we really wanted to take the approach of including that, what we think we're going to do for wildland revenue, and then also add in those expenses as well throughout the budget.
Thank you.
I will get to that, yes.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Of course.
Hi, I just unmuted. Okay, so so you're talking about for wildland revenues, like
Yeah, add in some. Obviously, has been and always will be, our largest expense. As I mentioned before, we've already received our PSPRS rate. That's going up 3.6%, which is about $265,000 on our budget. So we're seeing that increase if we did nothing else, didn't increase wages, didn't add positions or anything. That's the increase we would see just based on our contribution rate change. When you add in a step increase, that number goes up to an increase of $500,000 to the bottom line, which we do have obviously in this proposed budget, a step increase for all eligible personnel. It also includes the security COLA of 1.6%. So between PSPRS, the step increase, and the COLA, our personnel costs are going $680,000. We did do an overtime study, and we found that our overtime costs obviously have risen quite significantly. And in that analysis, we determined if we hired 3 additional new hires, that would actually save us $135,000 in the budget. We'd be able to lower our overtime, and the benefits associated with that overtime reduction compared to the cost of the new hires would actually be $135,000 reduction in total personnel costs. So this budget that you do see before you does have those 3 firefighters, new hires added, and then the reduction in overtime.
So other items. So just to clarify that for me, so that the ability to hire 3 new hires, 3 new firefighters, saves us versus paying overtime to fill those spots.
That's correct.
We actually make some money on doing that.
Correct. That's correct. I don't know if the board remembers, we actually, that was our original, JVG's original introduction to Sedona. Before we were hired as finance director, we actually did the same study back in, I want to say 2012, 2013, and looked at that very thing, and the district did make the decision back then to save the money and hire the new people in reduce overtime.
Gabe, one last question for me on this. The 3 firefighter positions in previous budgets, have they been funded positions and gone unfilled or not?
No, they are not funded positions. These would be newly funded positions.
So does that add to the total number of, say, 25, or does it take us to 28, or how does that affect the overall number of personnel? Or is that a question for the chief?
I could probably take part of it, and the chief can fill in the gaps for me. But essentially what we found, Mr. Chair, is our overtime usage for various coverages, whether it's training, whether it's vacation usage, whether it's out for deployments, whether it's out for kind of any reason that a firefighter would be off and we need to backfill. We found that number has increased significantly. So this will increase our daily staffing, but this is going to be needed to maintain our constant staffing of 22. And Chief, if you want to fill in what I missed there.
Right. So per shift, so ABC would each then go from 25 to 26 personnel, but our minimum staffing would still stay at 22. In terms of when you got below 22, you would backfill then to get back up to that 22 number. So as it currently stands, it would be 25 on each roster, ABC, still with the minimum 22. So 3 of those 25 what we'd call drops. In this case, what we're presenting the budget, there would be 4 drops to get to your 26. Sure. So when a firefighter would be on vacation or calling sick, or it could be an engineer captain, then one of those drops would be moved to the station to backfill behind that person. And then, of course, we have what we call billeted engineers and billeted captains, which are acting engineers, acting captains. So let's say, for example, at Station 5, the captain calls in sick. So we could use a billeted engineer or firefighter to act up as captain, and one of the drops would move over and cover that position. So until the drops are used to travel around, to backfill positions until we get to 22. And then we'd be hiring somebody outside of the shift.
They wouldn't be at home waiting for a phone call, though. They'd be
No.
showing up.
Yeah, in a perfect world, if nobody was sick, nobody was on vacation, nobody was on deployment, nobody was on leave, then there would be 26 people on duty in this scenario, and they would each have a seat somewhere in the district.
Thank you. That's wonderful, I think, to be able to do that, to hire these 3 firefighters.
That gives us 1 additional per shift because of the 3 shifts.
Correct.
Thank you. Gabe, you're on.
All right. Perfect. The other thing that is increasing personnel costs this year is there is a quarter FTE for coordinator position. And I will point out that is those wages that I mentioned that are reducing our wildland profit. So that's kind of one of the things that when I was talking with the chief on building that position in there, that we would build it in as a funded position through wildland. So that is in the budget as well. Our health insurance renewal came back at a 10% increase. On workers' comp, so right now we have in the budget a 650,000, a little over 600, right around 600,000 for workers' comp. That is on a quote we received from the high-risk pool. However, it now appears that we have 2 options that are going to be a lower number. One is 7710, which is our current workers' comp carrier, or the other option is a workers' pool. And we have a call that we're going to, or maybe later this week. Today's all run together now. Where we're going to kind of evaluate the options and make it and come up with a recommendation to the board. And once we do that, we should be able to lower that number in the budget rather significantly. So we should be back to Probably going from 650 down to about 400,000, depending on which decision is made. So I do want to point out the number that is being presented right now is much higher than what we will ultimately end up with due to some recent changes. And finally, there's some items added in currently right now based on current MOU negotiations. So as Chief works through that, there may be some ability to find some additional savings within the budget on the personnel side.
Corey had a question for you.
Yeah, Gabe, on the workman's comp, is that 400,000 your highest amount that you think we'll have to pay? Is that a
So yes, is the highest number we'd have to pay. The pool, if we choose to go to the workers' comp pool, that comes with a capitalization piece, which is, an investment essentially. Depending on how we decide to finance or fund that, whether we just fund it out of the operating budget or we financial reserve, will determine what that final number ends up being. Any other questions on personnel? All right. Buildings and land. Similar to our non-levy revenues, one of the things we look at our expenses is what's our usage, and also with revenues and expenses, we look at what that in usage over time, whether it's increasing or decreasing. And so utilities actually based on historical usage and this compounded annual growth rate, which is its change over time, we actually were able to lower our utility budget by about 26,000. So we did see some rather good savings on that side. Another item, big change on buildings and land was the station security project is ending, which was kind of a large item this year in the budget. And so we were able to cut another 46,000 out of station or out of buildings. So overall, we saw a net increase on our buildings and land budget item by actually about 55,000 overall. So that's again, hard work on the program manager as far as identifying what the actual needs are. And then really taking a approach of looking at what we're actually spending, not just. Any questions on buildings and land?
No.
Vehicles and equipment, again, another category that after analyzing historical costs and the compounded growth rate and our usage, we were able to make some changes. Both fuel and maintenance saw decreases of about 20,000. We did increase though for fire equipment maintenance, specifically for mainly FDA testing for PPE as well as hoses. With that, there was a net change on vehicles and equipment, actually of a decrease of about 14,000. That was another category overall that went down. communications and IT. We're continuing to work with IT and program managers to streamline our software budgeting, really kind of have that centralized in our budget for better tracking purposes. So when you do look at the detailed budget included in your packet, you'll see that number has gone up significantly. It's actually gone up by 66,000. Some of that is due to our increased needs and usage of software, mainly in our Chronos systems, our telestaff systems, and our records management and EPCR systems. But it's also a function of moving other budget categories into communications and IT. We did have a decrease overall, though, in our computer supplies, which helped offset that. And then our dispatch expenses increased 5% for the IGA. So with that, our communications line item actually had a $23,000 increase, and 15,000 of that is our dispatch increase for the day.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
Well, actually, when I was looking through the entire budget, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask, but in regards to the budget for IT communications, I noticed that there was a $10,000 reduction in professional services, I believe it was, and I'm wondering when I can address that.
Now is a good time.
Okay, so it's stating in that budget that $10,000 reduction from it went from 50,000 last year and the year before, this year and last year, and then going down to 35,000, I believe. Let me pull it up. Anyway, so I was wondering what was the reasoning behind that? Because there's always going to be an emergency in telecom. There's always something going down. You've got microwave, you've got this, you've got that. And when it comes down to that, you have to hire outside services in order, people that have the experience to handle that in a quick manner so we can get back to business of, saving lives. So I was wondering why that was reduced, and if we can revisit that and bring it just to keep it status quo, not raise it, keep it status quo, because I get concerned that when items do come up and you're above budget, then who's going to get, blamed for that, or how is that going to work?
Oh, yes, Board Member Moore. So we did look at what the actual usage of that expense has been over the last 5 years, and even in this year, where we've had the highest amount of expenses, it doesn't look like we're going to hit the 50,000. So that's the justification for lowering it, is that has been an underutilized budget item. So we're spending tax dollars and not using them, which is
okay.
over the years. Obviously, to grow our fund balance and our fund growth here in a little. But also, I agree, there is critical infrastructure in place that if something goes wrong, something happens, we need to get that fixed. And there is outside expertise that may be needed to repair that. And that's why we built a healthy fund balance. So we have contingency built into our fund balance, not necessarily in the line item budget.
Oh, great. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate clearing that up. I just got concerned because I know just from the history of everything that's gone on over the past, since 2004, since I was on the board before, and I've kept up with everything, that just made me a little concerned. So thank you for clarifying that. I feel much better now. I can check that off my list.
Okay, good. All right. Anything else on communications and IT?
Nope.
All right. So meetings, training. So some of the reductions that have occurred in this item from the request were based on your party actually had some canceled training due to COVID. So that was one of the biggest things that saw to impact that budget, as well as spend a lot of time working with the program manager and identifying what are going to be the actual trainings that they anticipate doing next year. And so overall, we are seeing an increase in our training line item. We are seeing an increase to that section of the budget, which makes it about even year over year when you factor in the decrease in training budget dollars compared to the added deployment costs. And then finally,
Gabe, I'd like to ask, is there a reason Wildland just doesn't have its own category? I'm surprised the Wildland travel expenses are in this category.
well, so our budget's broken up by by expense code and by expense type, which the wildland deployment expenses are a travel expense, but then we break out by division. So there's a wildland division that will have a travel wildland deployment expense code in it. If that helps make sense.
Does it always refer back to that line item? Like in this particular one that she's talking about, it's a 6450. So if we get back to another section that talks about wildland travel expense, does it always refer back to line item 6450?
Yes, correct. And so typically we would have actually had it in our other travel expenses, 6470, but because the wildland division has travel expenses unrelated to actual deployment, we've created that line item for 50 to actually have the wildland expenses there.
It makes it a little difficult to comprehend when you see wildland issues throughout the document, always referring back to what seems to be the same amount, and you question yourself, how many times is this going to get added into the budget when it's all along the same amount multiple times? So it makes it a little difficult to see this when you're looking at it one sheet at a time on a screen on a computer. So that, I think that's what my concern is, but I understand it as you just explain it.
Okay.
My concern is we evaluate what we gain. I mean, besides the experience, which is invaluable, but what we gain financially with the wildland program when pieces of it are spread out.
Extract data and analyze to be able to see, okay, overall, this is what we, and then we can pull out and go, okay, our wild, and as you know, as Mr. Superman mentioned, be able to quantify it financially, pull that out and say, okay, so for the wildland division, we brought in X amount of revenue, had these expenses, again in different categories, so we can be able to tell we're spending this much for personnel, we're spending this much for supplies, we're spending this much for deployment costs, and then actually see what that net quantitative benefit is of that wildland. Does that make sense? Like we're summarizing, I guess we're trying to summarize because it's a lot of information, and all you're looking at right now is the summary, but there is an extensive amount of detail behind this. And when you look at the budget documents that you guys have, later, when you have some time, you can actually go look at the wildland in there and see all those expenses broken out specifically to the wildland.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does that help?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Moving on to managerial expenses. Overall, we kept managerial expenses fairly static. We did decrease professional fees based on just usage. We just weren't using what had been budgeted in years past, as well as office guys. However, the biggest impact of that line item this year was our, we do have an election this year, and that cost is currently budgeted at about $33,000. So,
Can I ask a question on that?
yes,
I feel like I recall that the election expenses were approximately $15,000 in past years. Am I right on that or not?
I I don't want to say it wrong. We have the 33,000 we had in the past. I'll double check and see exactly what it's been in the past, but without knowing the number exactly in my head, I would say we developed this number though based upon what we spent.
Oh, okay. I appreciate you checking into that. Thanks, Dave.
Of course.
Also, based if there was only 2 people for this up and coming election for the 2 seats, then that amount is basically 0. There won't be an election, so that number can disappear, or it could be valid.
Good point, Mr. Chair. Yes, if we don't have to have an election, then we've got a $33,000 savings to the bottom line. All right. With that, I would like to move on and kind of discuss our restricted funds, unless there's any other questions on this so far.
None here.
Joy again. I did forget to ask one question on telecom. I apologize.
Yeah.
So salaries on telecom look like they went down 10,000 due to reduction in overtime.
Correct.
So do we have money in contingency for that as well? Because I don't feel that that's super prudent.
Again, we do. We looked at, again, analyzing what's actually being utilized, budget number on actual utilization, with the understanding that there are categories, there are things that there could be unknowns that occur. And if we need to go above and beyond that, there's the capacity to do so.
All right, thank you so much.
And I think that's a good point, just to bring up overall on the budgeting philosophy. Is we really want to, we've spent the last, I would say, 2 years. It wasn't until we had the first meeting with the program manager last year. And we really wanted to get the philosophy of budgeting based on what are what are we really utilizing as a fire district, and get away from essentially over budgeting or budgeting in every category, essentially for that unknown, as well as get away from our reliance on carryover funds to balance our budget. And the reliance on carryover funds we started a couple of years ago, but more so really fine-tuning our budget. And that's what we spent the last 2 years doing. And so when you see any number in the budget, that number is based on a couple of things. It's one based on who's the program manager requesting, from they need to buy this, they need to upgrade this. There are those needs items that are in there. And then there's the line items that I use professional services for this particular project, or I may need overtime if this happens. And so for those items, we really then analyze what have we been doing for the last 5-6 years? Have we been spending that money? So for because we're discussing telecom, we can use that as an example. Are we really spending $50,000 on overtime in telecom year over year? And we look and actually no, we're spending less than that. And so those are some of those changes we've made in the budgeting process. But still having that understanding that we've grown a healthy fund balance, and I'm going to show that to you guys on the next slide here, that, if something comes up and we didn't budget for it and we don't have capacity anywhere else in our line item budget, that we have a fund balance, we have a savings account, so to speak, that we can reach out to cover that cost.
Well, that's extremely prudent. I really appreciate it. Now I know why you won all those awards. Good job, Gabe. Thank you. Really, thank you.
And we just checked, so we paid $42,000 in 2018 for the election, and we paid $22,000 in 2019.
Oh.
I don't know, because we should be paying based on registered voters.
Okay. I was mistaken then. Thanks for clarifying that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. With that, let's talk about our money. So our fund balance. So 2000, it was before 2017, but I will say 2017 was really the year that we really started diving into it, really kind of understanding what we need and really developing a solid, comprehensive capital plan. And then last year, we made the decision that we need to fund our energy liability and make that a priority in addition to our capital. And so, as you can see, we have our overall fund balance has grown quite to a healthy balance over these last 3 years and projected for year 4 here, end of 2020. Right now, these are projected numbers for the end of this budget year. So, in doing so, the $2 million is our board restricted fund. So by policy, the board has restricted $2 million. So that's money that the district can't touch without coming to the board for formal permission to essentially utilize those funds for a given purpose. After this year, we'll have $400,000 in our end leave liability fund. Based on our capital funding plan and projected expenses, which I don't think we will spend all of our projected expenses just due to COVID. I'm sure projects are going to be put on hold. So this should increase $3.4 million for capital fund should increase due to that. But obviously those projects will just get moved down the capital plan. And then finally, we get to our unrestricted fund balance. So we're projected to end the year at $3.8 million in unrestricted fund balance. As you can see, this bar graph or this line here represents what that GFOA recommended unrestricted fund balance. So you can see at the end of 2020, we've actually exceeded our number at a healthy level. So that's our kind of that savings, that contingency, that something comes up, we need to fund it. So a good example of, and what I would recommend, potentially is we fund this worker comp pool, if we choose to go through the capitalization, through our financial reserves. Because we have a healthy balance, we don't have to levy more tax dollars to pay that. We can pay it out of money that we've already levied and already earned, and then utilize that to make that purchase or make that investment into the pool. And so that's just kind of another example of why we grew our restricted funds. So in this year's budget, right now, as it stands, and as I mentioned before, we haven't finalized the capital plan. We still have $1,250,000 to capital. We do have $150,000 going to end leave, and then $125,000 going to financial reserves. And again, that $125,000 is representative of that bioland process. Won't get funded. That's rise up use reserve funds to make that investment. But I haven't had this conversation. here's kind of in summary where our budget projections. We're at 19,093,000 on budget. That includes all those items we have discussed. And then here's also kind of where we're at from a projection standpoint going forward for the next 2 years based on that. I will point out that the majority of the increase the board is seeing right now in this draft is items, that are essentially outside of the control of the fire district. That being our health insurance, our workers' comp, and our retirement. That makes up almost 800,000 of the total increases that you're seeing in this year's budget, which is 17% increase over the prior year. Again, as we've mentioned and as we've just discussed with Mr. Cooperman, we may be able to lower that number by a couple $100,000 based on whichever decision's made and if one decision's made, how it's funded. And yeah.
Did you say 17%? The graph is saying 10%.
10.5 overall. Overall, I'm saying our employee benefit costs have gone up 17%.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So the overall budget increase over last year is 10.5%.
As it stands today. But understanding that there is definitely a reduction potential on our workers' comp piece, as well as there are still some items in here that are still pending MOU negotiations, which can change this number as well to the positive. Potentially lowering it.
Very much.
Gabe, just a question out of curiosity from our last meeting last month. This meeting, you gave a number that was significantly lower than what we're seeing right now. Can you tell me what the main?
Mr. Chair, I don't remember. I think the only number we gave last month was our budget projection from the prior year, because we were still working through program manager requests and the personnel side. We didn't have any expenses or any total numbers for this year. I think so. The biggest was we were looking at last year's projections, and our employee benefit really threw that number out of whack, off our projections.
So, yeah, so Gabe, we were presented with a number of 18 million, showing a 3.9% increase over the year before. So we actually did get those numbers.
Correct. And that's what I'm saying is that was, if you guys remember, that was our projection that was based on last year's budget. So I'd have to look back, or we'd have to look back specifically, but the projection I was showing you wasn't this year's developed budget. That was last year's projections for this year.
Oh, last year's projections for this year. Okay. Thank you.
So right now, here is kind of the draft, the summary draft. As it stands today, I'm going to go out on a limb and going to guess the board's going to have some direction for us on this. But as I mentioned, I believe that this number is high, solely based on that workers' comp being able to come in lower and finding a better funding mechanism than the operating levy if we do decide to go and cap.
Well, if it's a direction you're looking for, is that what your question is?
Yeah, so at this point, is there any additional questions or direction from the board to staff?
Well, let me open it up to the board to see if where we stand on this from the point of views. Gene, input? Nothing at this point? Okay. Al?
I just want to be in a position where I can explain this to a third party if they ask me a question. So I appreciate the input on how the budget is $800 and some odd thousand worth is actually out of the control of the district. It's what comes with inflation and normal business operations.
Hard to see to swallow.
I don't know if this is pertinent, but we're going through a bit of a downturn right now. We don't know where it's going. People are at home, they're not working. People in my neighborhood, there are for sale signs going up all over the place. And so while we're looking at revenue coming in from property tax, we have businesses there that are closing and will no longer open. They're gone already. The effect on our revenue income. What's your thought, Dave?
So there's a couple ways that our revenue can be affected by all of this. And, one is a downturn in the market. And that is potential. The hope is we get to the other side of this and, the economy starts to pick up a little quicker and we don't see a big housing hit. What we have with Prop 117, that gives us 2 years before we see that as a district, because the market rate is separated from the limited property value. So, and there's a 2-year lag. So we will have some time to see that potential downturn come and impact us from a budgetary standpoint. The other item that we could see a more immediate impact would be if people stop paying their property taxes. And so I don't know what the percentage of mortgage properties versus unmortgaged properties are in the district, given the demographics. I'm going to say we probably have more properties that have paid for with cash. So the hope is those people have enough assets to continue to pay their taxes. The people that are maybe more affected and may not have the ability to pay their bills would more than likely have this. And it's mortgage companies will continue to pay the property taxes even if the homeowner has stopped paying the mortgage. Twofold. One, because they've paid into escrow, but also the mortgage company, even after the escrow funds have been depleted, don't want to lose a property tax lien that they secure the mortgage on. So that's why I believe we'll be okay, but we need to continue to monitor our tax collections and also continue to monitor what the market's doing. Start anticipating if there is going to be a downturn, what changes we need to make to be able to survive it.
Okay, so I'd like to speak on that.
Go ahead.
If I could. Okay, so in regards to the market and the percentage of homes that are owned outright, we're looking at a higher percentage than most cities, in the nation, because these are a lot of second homes here. There's a lot of multi-million-dollar homes and million-dollar homes that are all paid with cash. So, and, of course, they'll still continue to pay their taxes. Now, in regards to mortgage properties, I've seen approximately 85% of people that have used PITI, which is principal interest, insurance, and taxes. And so those escrow accounts are usually for the entire year. So, for about a year, we should be okay unless things really go south. But most of the people that I've talked to and clients that I've talked to have no desire to stop paying taxes. Nobody wants to go into foreclosure. Everyone's working as hard as they can. And one of the reasons we're seeing so many houses go on the market is because we had a huge influx of buyers purchasing.
Thank you.
This brings up an interesting point. In society in general, an organization that relies on property taxes elsewhere, other fire districts or other organizations that rely on property taxes, is there a trend towards projecting that this COVID thing will affect property taxes, or is everybody on a wait and see, so let's not overreact?
You mean as far as paying them, or as in going?
No. Just I'm just thinking. We're not. This isn't the only organization that relies on property taxes. I'm asking Gabe. Do you hear in the industry whether or not this is an open issue being discussed, or is everybody on a wait and see kind of program?
No, Mr. Camillo, actually, at the last AFTA board meeting, this very issue was discussed in detail. And AFTA is working with Jim Rounds, who's actually who Sedona's hired in the past to do a property value assessment study, looking at what the potential economic impact could be from a property tax standpoint. So there is work done on that.
So it's an active process of thinking. So there's no reason why this year's future budget 21 needs to be altered in anticipation of something that we have no control over anyway. And like you said, it would be a couple of years before the real numbers came in anyway.
Well, I think along those lines, Al, when you mentioned, you'd like to be able to explain it to our citizens, a 10.5% raise we haven't seen in our budget in quite a few years. So it comes at a time when, as you said, Gene, there's many people unemployed. It may not affect our revenue for 2 years, if at all, but it's a difficult amount to reckon with, given the circumstances that we're in right now. I think it would be even if we weren't in these circumstances, because it is a higher amount of increase in the budget than we've seen. Granted, it doesn't change the tax rate that much, but that's because of our assessed valuations going up so nicely. But people will pay 10% more in their taxes, or close. So it concerns me, and I'm glad to hear that there's ways in which you and Chief might find some reductions in the MOU process. Perhaps there's some ways you can find reductions in that too, because there isn't too much that can be
No, when you look at
worked with.
When you look at the total budget, it's very little that we can really affect change to. Even with what was been described today, I can only hope that we find those, albeit even a couple $100,000, as you mentioned, Gabe, to get us down below that number that you proposed. I also want to point out that several years ago, when the market did crash, the board at that time chose not to raise mill rates or revenue, but instead chose to utilize funding from within the budget to offset what cost we had. it was devastating in that as the years progressed and the market continued down, we needed a hefty shovel to dig the hole from which we dug ourselves into. And right. And so, you know, we are just slightly ahead of where we were 2008, 2009, because the market crashed and then came back up. And our predecessors worked very hard to get us out of that hole. So although this is an amount that we've not seen before, it is a percentage that we've not seen before. It is something that if we do not, something that we have to strongly consider to stay on a pace of growth, then we will find ourselves in a similar situation, a similar hole that'll be difficult. It's going to be a sell that is going to be difficult, but I think, as Corey mentioned, the mill rate has been increased but 2 cents to achieve the number that we have here, and that's solely based on the assessed value of our homes and how lucky we are to have that. So I can only hope that Gabe, with you and staff and the chief, that we can find those areas that we can reduce the amount that we've proposed to get down to a level that we all can agree upon. And I'm looking forward to the next budget workshops that we can see those changes. So that's my comment on that. Anybody else?
I'd like to make one more comment and correction, if I could.
Sure.
So real quick, just a correction. I was talking about PITI. That's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, just for the record. I think I said it wrong. And then secondary, I wanted to mention that I feel that, you know, the board back in 2008 made a very, you know, huge mistake in not raising the mill levy. And then we have to dig ourselves out. And I want to make sure that as we are, you know, taking care of the public and making sure we're doing our due diligence in every aspect financially, that we do understand that if that needs to occur, that's like the 2 cents that we do it, and because it's for the betterment of everybody in our district as well as ourselves.
Thank you. So, okay, Gabe, back to you.
Thank you. Chief, do you have anything that you want to add?
No, I don't think so at this point, but briefly, I appreciate the input and direction. You know, and to date, staff, Gabe, JBG, we have been working diligent on this budget. And we have, as you even saw in some of this presentation, some of those areas where we were be able to project more actual numbers and bring those down to more realistic numbers. So between now and the next budget meeting, we'll definitely continue to look at that detail and work at that and strive to do everything we can to make that a real efficient number. The other thing I want to say too, the workers' comp, you know, has been kind of a roller coaster. So, you know, Mr. Chair, like you noted something I think is pertinent here. There's two options we have that really every fire district in the state has: the 7710 and then this pool. Because of predecessors positioning our budget correctly, and because we do have some bandwidth in our capital, we're seated to where we can pick one or the other. We're not going to be bound necessarily financially. The conversations we're more having, what's better strategically, and what's the better long-term decision, because what we don't want is the roller coaster that we're experiencing now. So I just wanted to note that on the, we will continue to work diligently on the entire budget and on every line. And then also just note that we're seated pretty nice to look very carefully at those two options with workers' comp, pick the best strategic one that we feel would be long-term planning. Just like this board, prior boards, prior staffs have focused on that. You know, we can think a little more long-term with a lot of these capital issues. And I think if we can continue to do that, I think it just positions us better downstream when we have these difficult decisions. So, thank you.
So with that said, I think direction for the chief is to continue through in our refining this budgetary workshop here to get to the number that we're looking for. What I'd also like to, and maybe the rest of the board can concur or not concur, is that as we read this budget packet, we tend to group employees into the totality for a number. We can't quite see individual salary amounts. And there's several spots in the budget that comes up in where it's just 3 employees for a total amount. I'd like to see that broken down for the individual amounts. And then also as an attachment to the next one, because the next one is going to be pretty much the one that we're going to be looking at for approval, will be an attachment of the salary schedule for all members within the fire district. With the addition of those 2 items, input from the rest of the board. What's your thoughts?
I'd like to also see a salary page or 2, like typically is in our annual budget workbook.
I think that would be valuable for Al and myself and the rest of us.
Yeah, and
If you're asked,
well, I would love to know how those salaries compare with other similar districts. I mean, people think one thing when the truth may be something to the contrary.
And keep in mind this is a public document. We're not trying to hide anything. We're trying to promote transparency, and we are very proud of our fire district, the members within it, what they earn, and the product that they produce or the service they provide. So it would help us to, when we look at these numbers, the totality of it all. So, Chief, with that said, as we come into the next one, we'll be looking for those 2 additional items. Thank you. Does that conclude, Gabe, your presentation for the budget workshop? Okay, with that said, Chief, is there anything else you'd like to add for the workshop?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay, board. Okay, with that said, that concludes our budgetary board workshop for 2021. And next item on the agenda, as we're going to get into our regular business. With that said, Chief, do we have any comments from the public?
I believe we have the one. Yeah, if you'd like to write it or
Okay.
read it, Mr. Chairman.
I do. At this point in time, we did receive a communication. This is addressed to the governing board, Fire Chief Troutwine, officers, and employees. And I will read it, and then I will say who it's from. I am so proud of all of my Sedona Fire District former co-workers, always, but especially during this global pandemic. You put your lives on the line to serve our community. Thank you for all you do, and please let me know if there's anything we can do for you, either personally or through our business, Sedona Engraving Awards and Copy Services. I sincerely miss each of you. Being a member of the Sedona Fire District was the most rewarding part of my professional life. Please know that I pray for you every day. Congratulations to Engineer Tim Kriegel, Kurt Rydell, and Jeff Skulf for 30 years of service to the best emergency public service agency in Arizona. SFD rocks. Sincerely, Tricia Greer, retired Sedona Fire District's Executive Assistant, Sedona, Arizona. Tricia, thank you very much. Much appreciated, and you're always in our thoughts. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the discussion, possible action for the recognition of Cottonwood's Public Safety Communication Center for the National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, scheduled or slated for April 12th through April the 18th. We have a proclamation that I would like to read, unless someone else would like to read that. I don't want to take all the limelight here. Okay, I will read it. This is a proclamation for National Public Safety Week, Telecommunicators Week, April 12th through the 18th, 2020. A week of recognition and gratitude. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require fire or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of firefighters and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our firefighters and paramedics is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Cottonwood Public Safety Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contacts our citizens have with emergency services. And, I might have read that twice. Whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators of the CPSCC have contributed substantially to the suppression of fires and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Therefore, be it resolved that the Sedona Fire District Governing Board declares the week of April 14th through April the 20th, 2020, to be National Telecommunicators Week in Sedona by officially recognizing and appreciating these public safety telecommunication professionals. In witness hereof, we hereunto set our hands on this 21st day of April in the year 2020, and a signature from all the board members. So to all of our telecommunicators down in Cottonwood, thank you very much for a job well done. We appreciate it, and you provide a vital link in what service we provide. So thank you very much. Get that off to them. Thank you. Kind of tough when there isn't an audience here.
It is usually representatives from the dispatch service are here, and we get to thank them in person. I also think that they deserve even bigger thanks due to the work that they're doing right now, and that COVID has added to their workload, to the kind of questioning that they need to people who are phoning in, so that our firefighters know what they're facing when they arrive. So they deserve a big, big thank you and appreciation.
Any other comments? Okay.
I was just going to comment before I got on the board. I had the opportunity to spend time at the communication center, and I must admit I was overwhelmed with how sophisticated and modern and focused it was. I felt like I was in the biggest city in the world, not in rural USA. So I am doubly impressed, and this is really great to pay homage to their presence and skills.
Thank you. And it is quite a place down there. So we will get that proclamation out to you as soon as possible.
Congratulations.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, discussion, possible actions. On the consent agenda is the March 17, 2020 regular meeting minutes and the March 17, 2020 executive session minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. Next up is our financial report and updates. Gabe, you are back on the hot seat.
All right. Let me get the screen up again. All right, perfect. Mr. Chair, members of the board, you have the March financial report in your packet. Starting off for the month of March, our total revenues were $897,000. You'll see we were actually under our projected tax levy revenue by $63,000. But our non-levy revenues for the month were $323,384, $113,000 over what our budgeted revenue for the month was. So overall for the month, we were over budget by $50,000 on revenue. Our really that variance on levy revenue was AMBO and our investment earnings made up that favorable variance. On the expense side, for March, our total expenses were $1,253,000. We were $3,000 over budget for March. Our personnel costs were over 1 million, which put us at 10,000 over budget. The biggest reason we saw that variance this month is due to timing on our annual physicals for our staff. So that payment hit in the month where it was kind of budgeted over a 12-month period. So that brought kind of a small variance there. Buildings and land came in line with budget. Vehicles and equipment did go over budget by 2,000. Our budget for the month was 72,000. EMS supplies were over budget by 8,000, and that is just a function of our supplies being over budget, somewhat related to the COVID. And then our fire equipment maintenance and vehicle maintenance for the month were over budget, but year to date we're in good shape on both of those line items. Communications and IT was pretty much right at budget. We were at 75,000 in total expenses with a budget of 72,000. And managerial was significantly under budget. Our total cost on managerial expenses was 64,500, which was under budget by 28,000. Really significant savings both in training, travel related expenses. Kind of gave us that variance on our managerial. Fiscal year to date, for the month of March, we've brought in 13.8 million in total revenues. That is 552,000 over what we did year to date. I will point out to the board, we are lagging on property tax collections from our historical averages by about 131,000. But I would say half of that was from earlier in the year. So again, don't anticipate that has anything to do with kind of our budget discussion and potential lags. I think that's just more of a collection at the county. On the expense side, our total expenses are 11.6 million. We are under budget by 741,000. And as you can see, we're under budget across all major categories. And, you know, personnel has been some unfilled positions that we've had both in admin and telecom, as well as just some overtime usage in specific positions, and then those associated benefit costs. And vehicles and equipment is under usage. If you remember from the budget line item, couple of years. Is our managerial cost. Utilized, as well as our training line item. Those expenses year of the budget with 27% remaining. Expenses by category, by major function, our personnel is at 83%, followed by communications at 5, operations at 8, and managerial at 4. And cash position year over year, we ended the month with 2 million in total cash on hand, compared to 8 million last year. So again, seeing good rise in our So unless there's any questions, that is the report for March.
Any questions? Joy, anything from for Gabe?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I've looked over everything pretty detailed, and I've written my questions down, so I'll come to it later. My other questions. Thank you.
Great. Gene? Al? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the financials? Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Sorry, Gene.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the financials for March are approved. Okay, next item on the agenda. Thank you, Gabe, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Chief's report. Chief Troutwine, you are up.
Thank you, sir. So our 2020 incident summary, when you compare 2019 to 2020 year to date, we've actually responded to about the same amount of incidents. But as you can see, February to March, we have a little bit of a downtrend in number of calls. I think that's probably related to a lot of the COVID-19 restrictions. So, but we'll see what it looks like again next month. So in terms of our 90th percentile, our total reflex breakout time, you can see again the 2019 to 2020. There's a slight upturn after we've analyzed the first quarter here, first 3 months. You can see March, it had a slight upturn. Now, when we look at numbers and we look at this, we did run less calls. So the calls that would be outside normal, like we looked, there were, I believe, 4 motor vehicle accidents that took longer to get to out on the highway. So when you have calls that take a lot longer, 15 minutes or whatever, and then you have less calls that you're getting your percentile, you could see an upturn like that. So I think, you know, we'll see that. That'll be interesting to watch, but I think that might be some of the reason seeing that this month at least. Yeah, it could. If you looked at the breakdown there with the call processing went up, I know that could have been an impact there. Yeah. Our turnout time stayed about consistent, but you are correct. That's one of the some of the direction we're giving. We're responding efficiently and safely, but if you have more PPEs to put on, that takes a little longer. And you know, and then we try to, if you don't know the environment, like every call doesn't come out exactly how you think it is. It might come out as a fall. So we'd send one firefighter in and then we realize, hey, have you had a fever? Are you sick? Yes, I've had a fever and I have a lot of chest congestion. Well, those of course are 2 of the potential symptoms for suspected COVID. So then the firefighters would have to slow at that moment, put all their gear on and engage. So we're being a little bit cautious, but yeah, that could be another indicator.
I think it's, you can see it there in the call processing. It's almost a 40-second increase.
Yeah.
Just in the amount of questions they're asking to ensure what we may be responding to.
Yeah, and you know, we've worked, as I know a number of you stated, and it's Telecommunications Week that we just celebrated, the dispatch center has been doing an excellent job. We have been working closely with the counties and the state to try to ensure that per the laws and per how we operate that we're getting those correct notifications, but that does mean extra work, more questions. So when we look at our average response time, again, not too much of a significant change year to date from 2019 to 2020. Although again, as we trended it, looking at our total response time, a little higher on the average for the month of March. You can see again the breakdown by responses of station. Those stay pretty consistent in terms of call volume, but where the calls are that we are running. So when we move to operations here, I want to start with some COVID-19 information. So I listed a few bullet points just for update and for collective information. We're continuing to apply our protocols and our operations and apply our adjusted work plan for administration, which I know you're all aware of as we put information out. Now, I wanted to note when we started our meeting and we gave a moment of silence for those police officers and firefighters lost in line of duty, of the 6 firefighters between last meeting and now, 5 of those they're looking at as COVID related. And of the 23 police officers, 10 of those are COVID related. So if we think there isn't an issue, well, when we look at our line of duty deaths, that's a smaller number, but the fact that we're starting to see some of those exposures affect our first responders, that's indicative that there are things going on out there. And again, when I say we've continued to apply protocols, continue to apply our modified work plan, I'm reinforcing that. Giving you that number is more to say, hey, we're doing the right thing. There's lots of discussions out there. We've been hunkered down for over a month. It's going to continue to become challenging to keep those measures in place. And the leadership of the counties, the state, they're going to have to make some hard decisions. And again, for us right now, we're trying to continue to focus on just those measures to keep everybody safe. So our goal really is to continue to effectively, efficiently accomplish our mission, keep our personnel and their families safe. And I think thus far we've been able to do that. So that really just shows a lot of hard work by staff and our firefighters. Some of the numbers, when I reviewed these last night, Yavapai County was reporting out that we've had 91 cases of COVID-19. Coconino County was reporting that they had 337 cases. They have quite an infection rate and things going on in Coconino County in terms of when you look at all the counties in the state. The tribal areas are a concern, but not just that, but some of the areas outside of there too. The last number of cases reported in Yavapai County that were in Sedona was 10. That was the last number. The last few reports didn't have that number, but 10 was pretty consistent for a good week and a half. Again, there's some controversy on how the county's reporting that. Is it the city of Sedona? Is it the village? So I think when they break it down to a zip code, it's kind of including a little wider area than just the city limits. So, but it does, again, it gives us a trend. So and when Coconino County reported out those numbers, so far we have not seen anything that's reported in our fire district. For example, up in the canyon. So we're not seeing that they're reporting that case was in our fire district. So again, the Yavapai ones, so they are reporting that there has been some cases in Sedona. Right. In some of the reporting, they have a threshold. I want to say it's if your community, your city, your town does not have more than 5 cases, then they don't really report out on that. So once we passed that in the Sedona area and got to 10, that was the number they put out. So, there's some intricacies on that, but I think the important thing for us is just trends and just awareness. And obviously we're operating as if everybody has it. We're going to use good judgment because we don't want a high burn rate of the necessary personal protective equipment. We want to use them when they're necessary. But nevertheless, we still are going to have to take the precautions. Yes, sir.
With regard to any discussion with you and your staff as the nation moves towards the governors, I should say, moves towards phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and now they're talking phase 4. And not talking about the funding and the financial aspect. I'm talking about getting back to work. Because we're going to have to discuss that in the future and how the district coincides with a governor's choice of moving us into phase 3. And what does phase 3 mean? I don't think any of us really know. But it's just something to think about what it means for us.
Right. And obviously, as businesses start to open, hopefully there'll be good direction on mitigative measures they can take as we have taken now. But I do think we're seated really well in the adjustments we've made to sustain that. And then what we'll probably see as the counties, the state, everything kind of relaxes a little, we're probably going to hold our protocols a little longer than the average citizen. Because again, there's a lot of unknowns, and we know as in emergency medical services, EMTs, as paramedics, we're trained really to handle contagions, bloodborne pathogens. We're trained from day one, and we're very aware, and we know what universal precautions are. They're the same things we're doing now. So this is just, it's at the front of our mind every single call, as opposed to, you know, the ones where, you know, oh, I'm going to something, I need to have all my gear on. So it'll be challenging, I think, and those are discussions we are having. What's that look like? So I think we're going to let them lead and make adjustments and then see if we need to adjust. But I do, you know, we meet weekly with our police on Zoom, and we talk these issues together, you know, even their officers, and we're out there, and how long are we going to hold? And really it depends upon what the state, what the counties do. But we're seated very well, I think. One of the things that's come up on the briefings is antibody testing. Right now, the University of Arizona is developing a test, and what their goal is to get that to first responders, nurses, doctors. That would be the preliminary antibody test. Yavapai County, they cautioned, because there are some private entities out there right now in the county that are providing this antibody test, but Yavapai County Health Department told us that we need to be cautious because some of those tests are not FDA approved. So don't jump on that first test, ask questions, go through the county health department. Hey, is this an FDA approved test? So again, there's a effort at the state and county level to get these antibody tests going. And so that work is being done, but it has to be an approved test by the FDA that's actually a good test, or otherwise it's not going to accomplish what we want it to accomplish. And I think they're still focusing on improving rapid testing. When you look at the state of Arizona and you compare it to other states, statistically our problem wouldn't be viewed as significant. For example, if you compared us to New York right now, when you looked at how many people are being tested in New York, it's a very high number, relatively speaking. It's a very low number in Arizona, but we're not seeing as many cases. So there's a lot of positioning by governors and the federal government and counties on, hey, what are we going to do this? So we want to develop that, and the counties are still looking at it, Yavapai, Coconina, but we're going to get there when we get there. And again, if we keep up the protocols like, hey, we don't want to spread it, then we're going to accomplish what we need to, regardless of whether we're tested or not. So just a couple other things here. We're still anticipating a peak, although our numbers have been holding pretty decently for the last couple weeks. And then another note is just that Arizona's current stay home, stay healthy, stay connected, if you've seen those, that order is still in place through April 30th. So, you know, we've been seeing those kinds of orders, and then they get adjusted, maybe bumped a couple weeks. So we'll see. But that's still the encouragement at the state level. So we're encouraging you just to continue to physically distance as we've done tonight, and just make responsible decisions. I did want to spend a little time on the operations about COVID-19. Were there any questions from the board on that?
I appreciate your protocols that you put in place, and not only just for this, but if this was to spike again 6 months from now, the madness of putting everything together will already be in place. And so it'll be more of a matter of fact kind of approach than anything else. So commend your staff. I commend your staff and for everything they've done.
They're doing a fantastic job.
There is conversation about a universal protocol, say, for restaurants, that they would all be using the same methodology, that they could communicate to the public, we do this. I know hotels have a similar thought process as to how they clean rooms and that. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of the state as universal protocols that people can sign on to, that would give not only the public more confidence, but it would give the actual operator, the owner of the restaurant, confidence that he's doing or she's doing everything they could to, and still open up and be in business.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. And, you know, a fire station in our administrator's office, we are a business. So we are essential service, obviously, right? But the fact that we could put protocols in place and still maintain a pretty good level of safety, I think there's some possibilities out there. So, any other questions?
Well, just a comment. Most people don't know this is the second in history of a viral outbreak in the United States. First one was smallpox. Killed people by the hundreds of thousands because there weren't millions here. And during the 1776 period, people died in droves, not on both sides of the war.
Thank you. Joy, was there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I was just curious as to the antibodies test. In regards to that, I've heard from a couple of sources directly related to, I think it's WHO, that, pardon me, that you would be able to get the virus again, and I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, and if it has any relation to the amount of antibodies in your system, or if anybody has gotten information on that from the proper, resources.
Yeah, I've seen some different studies, but I think just referring back to the county health and the Arizona Department of Health Service, they would probably be more, and CDC the authority on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just continuing with our operations area, we did have a couple significant incidents since our last board meeting. One was a car that went over the edge in Midgley Bridge where we had a fatality. And then also we had a single engine aircraft crash up at the airport. So we responded to both those incidents. In terms of wildland related activities, obviously we don't have any deployments or current wildland commitments, although the wildland community and the incident management teams are working hard to develop protocols as we transition into wildland season on how we're going to manage COVID-19 out there in the field or in base camp. So they're working at it. It's a difficult thing to get our arms around, but we're going to focus on how we can just, when we deploy and have to deploy, what we can do. A couple other things, the telecommunications week, by the way, a couple of things we were able to do too. We sent a Zoom video of thanks to our dispatch center by staff, which was fun. They really appreciated that. And then also we also hosted lunch for them one day where we made sure we took them lunch. So just so you know, our firefighters have an excellent rapport with our dispatch center. And, we reached out to them and encouraged them and made sure they know that they're special and we appreciate what they're doing. Other thing I want to note, and it is under the COVID-19 related, but two of our incident management team members, and actually three, Chief Coyle included, we deployed two of our IMT members to help Yavapai County's emergency management when they opened their EOC. There's some logistical things that they needed to march out and clarify. And we had the experts to go assist them. So know that, there'll be some incidental costs of the district in this quarter as we walked in terms of increased PPEs and all those, but we felt it was important in that partnership with the county to provide expert support from our incident management team members. And I know Chief Cole even spent time down there helping them set up on his own time, not on district time. The other two members we did deploy. So they spent some considerable amount of time. They were very helpful and effective. Obviously, any of these costs, we're going to look at how we can get reimbursement if that becomes available. So we've tracked it all and done the appropriate paperwork. Another thing, well, I think this is more under CRR, but I want to note it here is this is the time of year we do our canyon cleanup where we offer rollaway dumpsters. And we stage them at several different stations and a couple of the HOA centers. Typically, we staff those with firefighters to help with that. Well, we see the value and we want the residents to continue to do that kind of clearance. But because of our protocols and the COVID-19, we're not staffing those sites with firefighters, but we've secured the dumpsters and given parameters on the community where they can still come and drop that off. So we're hoping that will still, it's a modification, but it still be effective. But you'll see I think the press release went out from our fire marshal, John. So you should see that.
Chief, who will be staffing them? Who will be staffing the event?
They won't be staffed by firefighters. We're going to monitor them via video because we've given clear instructions on hazardous materials and certain things that aren't allowed in a vegetation container. So we're trusting that the community will do the right thing there, but we wanted to make it available so that as they do their cleanup, they have somewhere to come bring it. But instead of us helping them offload and stack it, we won't be doing that. Under our staffing ops, our telecom position. So we'll be ready to fly it. Our goal is to be ready to fly the position on Monday. So we'll probably have at least a brief discussion on the timing, but we'll make sure that the COVID-19 things don't alter our timeline on it, but we're ready to go effective Monday. So that's a long time waiting. I think we've at least walked down where we need to be with that, and hopefully we can fly it and get some good takers on it. So we're excited about, we're getting down to end game with that. Any questions on operations? So CRR, they completed 216 inspections. Engine company inspections, that was one of the protocols we altered where we're trying to limit contact with people. Although I want to take a little bit of a camp here for a second, like we did with COVID, because I want to make a couple comments on our company inspection program, just kind of give a little overview on where we've been and where we're at now with it. We still believe it's a valuable program. Our engine company fire inspection program started in the fall of 2018. And Captain Jeff Wasso, he's really been instrumental in the development and administration of the program. He also serves as our liaison between our engine companies and operations and our community risk reduction division. So the engine companies are given quarterly assignments in terms of the occupancies that they would go inspect, the apartments and the businesses. And then what they do out there is they perform a basic fire and life safety inspection. So they would look at things like certification of extinguishers, how you get in and out of the building, to make sure the exits are properly marked, electrical hazards. A lot of businesses like to stack equipment and storage next to electrical panels. That's a common one. Yeah, or up high. So they do, when they get out in these inspections, they do a basic fire and life safety inspection. So there's other things though that they're very beneficial about this program for the firefighters, not just the basic life safety inspection that in and of itself is very beneficial to the community and the business owner and our apartment owners and residents. Also, some of the other things that they're able to accomplish is an opportunity to train. So when we get out in district and we're looking at the buildings and occupancies and how we get in and get out, we can create some really good training tabletops. And it's very effective to build that crew's capability. Also, it's an opportunity for our firefighters to update contact information. So we try to keep that contact information current and fresh. If we respond out on an alarm in the middle of the night and we need the owner to come respond, it's always nice if we have the correct contact information. That's another thing we're able to accomplish. Also, we're able to complete a risk hazard assessment. So there's certain things that Community Risk Reduction Division looks at, like how many stories, is there a fire sprinkler system, what kind of alarm panel. So we're able to get all that information, and then it helps community risk reduction when they pull data and do assessments and look at, hey, where we need to focus our time and our energy and staff. And also it gives each company the opportunity to do a pre-fire plan. So if you've never don't know what that is, a pre-fire plan basically is you walk through that occupancy, you look at all the potential hazards, you look at all the fire protection components, because those can aid you when you go out on a fire. And then you develop kind of a game plan on how to approach that if you have to go there at 3 in the morning. So some of the, not only do we accomplish our fire and life safety inspection, but some of these collateral benefits I think are very beneficial to the engine companies and to increasing the safety in the community. through our community risk reduction division, and also again the engine companies and their staff. So just the number since the program's inception, SFD engine companies have performed 493 company inspections. So I think all the things we're talking about and the benefits gave us 493 opportunities to improve that safety. So I did want to camp a little on that. I know I camped a little on COVID, but this was important just to kind of as an update. Are there any questions on our program?
Just a comment, Chief, is that you hit every point that validates a proactive fire prevention system program for the company members. Extremely important. And, you know, when you have a company that goes in their district and inspects their occupancies is one thing. But because the membership moves in and out of respective fire stations on any given day, you can have a stranger who's not used to the district, and they get a chance to go into some of these buildings and see what they don't normally see from their own station. So it's a program that you cannot be without. You have to have it. So the benefit is, you know, 400 and plus opportunities to visit these occupancies is huge. And it'll pay huge dividends when that fire comes at 2 in the morning and you've got a crew full of overtime workers that aren't used to being there.
I'm curious, how do you determine who gets inspected?
Well, they're mainly apartments and business and mercantile. That would be under the engine company. So the Prevention Bureau would handle the other type of occupancies. So it's basically by occupancy type.
But the chief is right, when you're there in the daylight and you can see the footprint of the building, the structure, the height, the distance from the roadway, should an aerial need to be set up, whether it has a parapet roof, the dangers that are related to the structure itself to the people who are going to come at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I was just thinking about all these gigantic 10,000 square foot houses sitting up on top of hills, and that at 3 in the morning would be a maze.
Mm-hmm.
You can figure out how to get in, much less fix it.
Correct, and because those are single family residents, they wouldn't fall under our ability to inspect them under the fire code. But some of the value, you know, we might respond in a house like that on a medical emergency.
True.
So it's not uncommon for the captain to look at the engineer and say, well, where would you spot the rig and where is our hydrant? Why don't you go look? And then the crew to kind of get a layout. You know, sometimes multi-story, you know, you get kind of familiar with how a house is laid out and where the bedrooms and kitchen. But anytime we have an opportunity to go into a house, if we're aware, for whatever reason, to replace the batteries in someone's smoke detector, which we do, that's a good opportunity to get in and even ask, hey, can you show me around? I'd like to see the layout. This is a great house. But what you're doing is in your mind, you're thinking, okay, well, where are the bedrooms? Where is that back door? You know, does this connect to the garage or not? It looks like it did. Oh, there's another level below this. Because from the street, some things look different. And then you might get around the back and go, I didn't even realize this is a hillside home. So the company inspection program just produces a lot of benefit for us. But yeah, those houses, you have to think of them more like a commercial building, not a single family house in terms of their size and complexity. All right, so finish off community risk reduction. We did 82 plan reviews. Of course, we've slowed down on our fire-wise. We did not have any fires to investigate. We've had some events, but again, we're trying to do remote and less contact with the community. And then just one note is the sharp increase in plan reviews. So we're doing more plan reviews than we have. So I think part of that, the good part of that is the building construction seems to be moving unimpeded right now, at least in terms of the plan reviews we're having to do and some of the projects going on. So I think that's good, that whole discussion about how we're going to get to recovery in the economy. Hey, as long as those plan checks are coming on, people are building and contractors are working. So that was a good thing. Any questions or comments on the community risk reduction? So in terms
I
of,
just want to make,
yeah, go ahead.
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, me?
Yes.
Okay, great. No, so yeah, I'm just really happy with everything that you've been doing, especially with, you know, working on the Firewise and helping businesses and people, you know, figure out what they could do to help mitigate their own issues. You know, it's kind of like, I don't mean to be preachy, but it's like the Lord helps those who help themselves. So people feel like they can be involved and they could also get, you know, help. I think it's a great way to bring the community together even further. So I just appreciate all your work.
Thank you. Moving to our training EMS and fleet. Again, a lot of our EMS activities have been focused on just our infectious disease control and protocols. That's a great picture there. You can see two of our firefighters in front of the ambulance, and they have their P100 mask on with those filters, and that's been an effective tool for us to keep our stock of N95s available and ready. So, fleet, Mike's working hard out there. We've got our shop truck has arrived and our IT van, so he's finishing out outfitting those. I know they're not on here, but he also finished our two of our command vehicles that came in. One went to Chief Mazulis, one went to me, and he's finishing up the third one, which will go to Chief Davis. So he's doing a outstanding job. And staff has done a great job managing those projects. So we're hoping to get those finished off soon and gain the efficiencies that we plan with making those mobile type of repair maintenance resources available. And then just looking at some of our training hours there for actually March, the total hours were 1,579. So we've kind of modified some of the exterior hands-on with multiple firefighters, but we're still moving forward in training and learning. Of course, incident command training we've done, COVID-19 related policy practices, Arizona Wildland and Incident Management Academy. And one major thing to note here under training, Captain Rodrigo Sanchez, he earned his bachelor degree in science in public and emergency management at Grand Canyon University. So we need to congratulate him on that task. Job well done.
On that. Yeah. Great job.
Any questions under the training EMS fleet? Go ahead, Board Member Moore.
I was saying that's huge. That's quite an undertaking. So congratulations. Amazing.
So administration, we've obviously canceled a lot of and postponed a lot of events. A couple of events we have here, the pre-planning. A couple of events that have not fallen off the radar, we're just going to time them, is our annual awards celebration, of course. And the other one was we were really gearing up. We had a date for Sedona Fire District and Sedona Police Department first family event, picnic, and we had to postpone that. I was online with the police chief yesterday, and he brought that up. When are we going to do that? So, I mean, if we did it now, we'd all be in masks and gowns and goggles and gloves, so it wouldn't be pretty, you know. Yeah, and the Zoom's a little impersonal for a family event. So we just want to let you know, of course, I think we have sound reasoning for our postponements, although, you know, there's a couple events outstanding that we intend to ultimately follow up on. So staffing updates, again, our administrative generalist, we actually, I think it is tomorrow, have our finalists that will be interviewed via Zoom. And then we'll be coming down to a final decision on who we pick. So I think I want to say, Heidi Sheriffney, there's 4 candidates left that are highly qualified. So we're excited about that process. I mean, we've really whittled it down from a lot of applicants. So we're hoping to get that completed and soon be introducing a new employee to each of you. Mental health moment. I want to read this. Social distancing stress. Not everyone handles isolation and lack of social engagement the same. For highly engaged and active individuals, it can feel overwhelming and frustrating to be restricted from normal activities. For some, it even saps energy to be disconnected from others, leading to lethargy and a lack of motivation. Even those who normally keep to themselves or live in a quiet lifestyle find that mandated isolation is far different than self-imposed privacy. Sedona Fire District posted some helpful tips on Facebook last week addressing signs of stress and how to combat them, such as getting outside, keeping a normal schedule and routine, and taking up old or new hobbies. So remember, there are always ways to connect. So text, make a phone call, or get on a video chat. Make plans, be creative. Stay home, stay safe, and stay connected. And then let us know if you need any resources. Well, we'd be happy to assist connecting you. That was a mental health moment that hopefully that was helpful. Any questions under administration?
Nope.
So to finish off the chief's report here, under the professional development, I know we've talked about the educational reimbursement, and I think the Captain Sanchez Rodrigo that just completed, we supported that, and I think that's big. So where we're at with that is just the draft policy really through the process has been evaluated and approved. So we'll circle back, make sure that's in writing, and then the policy will go into effect July 1, 2020. So this July, so we have a little time to line it up. And then what we'll do, there's a handful, several individuals that are already in degree programs that we will sustain the old payment rate, which was broken down by your grade, 90, 80, 70, I want to say, ABC. New policy that'll go in effect July 1 will be a 75% reimbursement based on passing the course. So the handful of individuals that will grandfather in will allow them to continue their program and finish it under that old reimbursement scale. And a couple just finished, I think Chief Mazulis just finished his master's degree. That was one that dropped off. And then, of course, the bachelor degree. So that's kind of the general state of it. We'll get everything lined up nicely so it's all in place July 1. Questions on that?
Chief, just wondering how the MOU process went with that. How was the acceptance? Did they receive it well, labor, or was it something like, are you kidding me type of thing?
No, I think it was received positively. So, and I work with Greg Eberline on that, make sure we, all views were seen with that. But he received it on behalf of the association positively. So I think we're in a good place with it. Our strategic plan, we just actually had we have another meeting coming up. Again, we're just looking at those goals, refining them, and making sure they're lined up with our budget process and all the other division goals and objectives. So a little bit of update on that, a little bit of work, but I think we're lining up quite nicely. Station 4, our construction committee had a meeting with a vendor that we gave our input and our thoughts on what information we would need to do a feasibility study. So they're working at putting that quote together for us that would have the scope and the issues that we want kind of resolved before we take the big step. So when we get the quote back, we'll evaluate that. And if it covers everything, we'll most likely move forward with that vendor to get that feasibility study again. And it's taken a little while, but I think that property, the more we look at it, the more we deal with the easements, the more we deal with some of the continuing issues there, it's a pretty complex piece of property. So that's part of the feasibility study too. We want to be confident that we can put in whatever measures we need to handle the complexity of it. So once we get past that, if it's still viable, obviously if we get to a point where it's too complex or too cost prohibited to bring it up to a level where we can initiate our project, then we'll communicate that. But our goal is to get some kind of feasibility study, be confident with the property, and then we can take that next step on lining everything up. With we're probably going to spend a little more time on the property than we wanted to, but I think it's for good reason. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's a little bit of a minefield. So, to be positive about it though, too, when we looked at different cell carriers there and the different properties, we're hoping that the project will actually make it better for everybody. I mean, not just us having a newer facility, but, we're hoping to make it beneficial to all the stakeholders. So that will be a side benefit, I think, that will just not only benefit us, it'll benefit, the carriers and whoever else is involved. We did have a couple purchase orders between 10 and 25, one for hydraulic tools, another for some computer power edge data server. And then grant activity, we've applied for, well, of course, we're walking down our radio grant, and we have that to get approval today. But the other thing was we did apply for a grant for SCBA also. So we're waiting to see how that goes. That's a significant dollar amount. And then the other grant that we just recently got, it was by county financials, $1,500. And this is county financials out of Phoenix, and this was a program they call Operating Helping Heroes. So we were able to secure that grant, even though it's an open-ended, or it's a non-defined grant in terms of what to spend it on. We've kind of earmarked wellness. So we're looking at fitness equipment to improve our fitness equipment at the station. So that was a much welcome and appreciated grant. So, this is really important, the next one. Not that everything isn't. One of our, John Davis's wife, Michelle, she, dental hygienist, so of course she's not working now to follow the protocols. But so in her spare time, she put together some of these cloth masks that we're encouraging everyone to wear around and about. In fact, I brought one for each board member, compliment of Michelle, but she made 107 of these at home. So we wanted to mention her hard work and what she's did. And we basically outfitted all our firefighters and staff. So I don't know how to do this, if maybe I just pass and you guys grab the color you want. And then of course have one for board member Moore. But I wanted you to see them firsthand, say thank you to her, but this is the product she put out and it's great. So we want to acknowledge her. I want to take one, pass it around. Yeah. Yes. So
Awesome.
the public outreach, again, social media, we've had different hits on different things. 155 new page likes, post reach 52,000, engagement 25,000, and then some of the higher hits. So the Cathedral Rock Rescue, that was back in March. Airport accident, which we noted. Also the trail closure status, and then Big Park Loop rescue that we had. So again, don't forget to read the correspondence and letters. We always get some very excellent support from this community who partners with us. So I believe that is the end of that report. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. And to masks, we thank you for those. They look very nice. Joy, you have a choice between green and green. There's a light green there's a light green and a dark green.
Okay.
So
I'll take dark green.
okay, you got the dark green, and that leaves me with the light green. Okay. Haynes t-shirts. Okay. Thank you very much, Chief, for that report and for that of your staff who assisted you in putting that together. Next up on the agenda is discussion, possible action, review, and approval for the First Amendment to the Coconino County Agreement for grant of easement with the Chia Spot LLC. And I don't know if you're going to comment on that, or if Bill is going to comment on that.
Yeah, I'd like to defer just a brief comment to Bill if he's still on the line. Bill, are you still on the line?
Bill is on the line. He's just on mute.
Bill, are you there?
Section rope.
Hello.
Hello, Bill, you there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. We're at that point on the agenda that if you'd like to add some comment on the agreement for grant of easement with the Chai Spot LLC.
Happy to do so. I could hear you guys fine. I unmuted myself. I don't know why it didn't happen right away. My apologies. When we got these documents, we noticed that the people from Chai were asking you guys to modify renew essentially and modify a grant of easement that Coconino County had done. But there's no background documents demonstrating how you got that property from Coconino or whether there's any restrictions on that transfer from Coconino. And we also noticed that the easement being requested by Chai covered the entire property instead of just a parcel that encompassed its ingress egress. So we sent that over to our engineer to have them mark the spot where that proposed easement's actually supposed to be. And then I have my people in the office pulling out the transfer documents from Coconino County to the district so we can actually see what the restrictive covenants on that deed are. When that's done, we'll be able to clean up the easement a little bit, and you can provide it as you wish. We noticed that the original easement for Coconino County was for ingress egress only. The easement that's being requested now is in addition for utilities. So you're granting something beyond what Coconino County had ever done for the original property owner. That doesn't mean you can't do it. It's just interesting to note that they're asking for more than they ever had.
Well, I think
I think you need to. Yeah, we need to finish our research on it for sure.
right. So what we'll do is we'll do just that. We'll just make a motion to table this to next meeting and to see where our progress has carried us at that point. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion is passed to table this till next month. I believe it's you, Bill, Chief Troutwine, and Chief Coyle working on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. We'll continue the good work and we'll look for progress next month.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion possible action for requisition 9219 for the purchase order up to the amount of $405,282.07 to the Motorola Solutions for the purchase of radios. Chief?
Sure. So we're getting down to our purchase of the radios where we secured a large amount of grant funding from AFG. And by the way, I want to compliment Captain Pat Ojeda for his diligent and hard work on this. There was a lot of detail and hard work putting that, and he did a lot of work on this. So you can see the grant, and if you look into the background, the grant's an amount of $348,000, and then the district's part of that will be a 5% match. And then also we provided the breakdown under the financial perspective on the grant money will come. We got to put forward the 5% match. And then there's other areas like the service plan, our Wi-Fi capability, and then also making sure that we purchase additional radios to have in cash so that it gives us a greater depth in our portable radios. So when you tabulate all that up, I think when you look down, the cost of the district was $73,000. And then that I believe included the matching fund plus, the different incidental costs that we're going to put onto this project. And then note also in the financial perspective that 42, we've been given a quote of getting $42,000 for the old radios. Of course, now we're going to have to purchase the new, work out all our finance, purchase the new, get the grant, do our training, get them deployed. Then we'll collect the old and get it, and get that reimbursement. So that'll come downstream because obviously we got to have radios in place while we're doing the whole training and deployment. So but I think that was another good heavy lift on this grant was not only, another heavy lift again by staff on, hey, let's get something out of what we had, because it is pretty old technology, relatively speaking. And then just on the financial perspective, the capital side, we already had projected $230,000 in 2024 from capital for radios. So there's more than the cost that the district will incur. There's more than enough, to offset that. So I think we sat really good financially on this one. So the recommendation again is for your approval.
Really amazing that our actual cost will be so low
Yes.
for really getting more in sync with what we need now in terms of the mechanics, electronics.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, for the cost of the district compared to what we're actually getting,
Yes.
is pretty incredible.
That's incredible.
And again, the AFG, that they're very supportive, and the hard work of staff, especially Captain Ojeda, that's there's an attaboy there. And then, most radio technology too, it's about a 10-year shelf life, and so our radios they're right there, and some of them might be a little older. So this is good timing.
And the benefit to the district to have this new technology means what?
So it should it'll improve the technology so that it's better, stronger, more reliable. I guess I would say. So it's equivalent, like if you had a laptop and it was 10 years old, most computer people will go, 10-year-old laptop. Now we're moving up to a brand new laptop. So whatever components you can program, capability. So I think it's going to be a better tool for us to keep advanced in our communications in terms of how we're operating, how we interact out there.
For the listening public, this is a great example of how the district constantly seeking ways to reduce the cost to the public. And this is, of course, through grants and the sale of older equipment and so on. So this is a good example.
It is one of the things, Al, that we don't realize is that, Chief, you can help me out here, is on any given fire call, that is a legitimate fire, how many channels might be dedicated to that one fire?
Well, and a working fire, you typically you want to have a command channel.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have a minimum of 2 tactical channels. So you typically would have a main tactical channel. You have so many divisions and groups, you could split it up into 2, or that secondary tactical, a lot is a fire safety kind of channel, where you might put your rapid intervention company on, or you could put staging on it, and that pulls it off the tactical channel where all the emergent transmissions are being had on the tactical channel, and the second tactical channel staging. So the incident commander on command can hear when unit stage and what he has and how he's going to deploy that. So that's like a minimum. If we get into wildland deployments where we have air to ground tacs, and we have divisions and groups over the next hill, you could definitely, it's a very robust plan that could build out very quickly.
I think what happens is what I'm trying to illustrate here is that for the average person that isn't aware, you can utilize 4 to 5 channels in a heartbeat just for one call that you have. In the meantime, the rest district still has to function on other channels. Not to mention that there are times that you can go in an elevator shaft, up an elevator, and it could lock you out because of all the concrete and steel. You might not be able to get out on a transmission. Today's radios allow you to do that, and the frequency at which they operate on. So it is definitely a valuable tool, saves lives without a doubt. The ability to switch over in a heartbeat if you position where you need help, simply rather than try to dial up a channel or hit a button. So,
and firefighter going into a burning house or building, do they communicate through automatically through radios that are built into their?
I would say not yet, but as a
Yeah,
norm,
there's what we call voice amplifiers, built into the mask. we're looking at newer SCBA, so we're looking at Wi-Fi capability and how that radio can connect to some kind of a voice amplifier in the mast. So I could be crawling through a building, not being able to see, or you know, there's a lot of heat, and I'm talking just like this. Yeah, we could use another company inside, as opposed to typically when you put an SCBA mask on without any kind of a connection to the radio or voice amplification, you have to yell, and you're screaming at the top of your lungs for the guy next to you to hear. Yeah. But once you train and are comfortable with that kind of radio setup, it's basically, yeah, we need to get out. This isn't going good.
Needed technology.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. No. It improves what we're doing.
I think the question that I have is the number of radios that we're requesting, 85. At any one given time, we have 25 members out in the field. We have admin staff that be issued a radio. What all does that 85? I mean, it seems like a lot of radios.
Yeah. So I'd have to go look and back, see how we distributed them, but it leaves for the opportunity for every firefighter to have one to communicate, and also enough in cash where if we're servicing radios or one gets damaged or lost, there's an immediate replacement. So I think it definitely spreads the communication to where we all have that capability.
Motion.
I'd like to make the motion.
Okay.
Check for the motion for the requisition 9219 for the purchase order up to the amount of $405,282.07 to Motorola Solutions for the purchase of radios.
Do I have a second? Okay. Modification, or further discussion, modification to that motion is it's 8 cents, not 7 cents.
Oh.
Yeah. So with that said, any other comment? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
That was under the in favor of. Okay. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Motion is passed. Thank you, Chief. Next up is the discussion, possible action, requisition 9220 for the purchase order up to the amount of $57,875.40 to CDW Government for the purchase of teleconferencing hardware.
Sure. So this requisition would be to improve our teleconferencing hardware and software. Our telecom division went through a process to evaluate different platforms and what's available out there. And here they're choosing what they believe is the best for the Sedona Fire District. It kind of has an immediate impact on us where it's expanding our Zoom capability, which we've had to do with the coronavirus. Although we kind of pushed this up on the timeline, we've looked at this and knew we needed to improve it and fund it. We've kind of pushed it forward because of the coronavirus, and it's helping us get through this immediate need. But again, what it does is it improves our technology. It improves our interoperability with other agencies too. That was one of the challenges we had. Maybe our internal system, we could stream station to station, but we wanted to Zoom and get the county, the state on a meeting. It was prohibitive. So I think, again, this improves our hardware, software, and our capabilities as we move downstream. But currently it really meets a current need. Now, and you'll note on this in the back, this wasn't something that we had currently in 2020 putting capital funding aside for. Although when we did the financial analysis, we believe there's plenty of capacity, even connecting it to the radio grant where we had capital money put aside, but the grant money is going to cover that. So we believe there's plenty of bandwidth to absorb that. Again, it keeps us up on our technology. It gets us improving our system for use now and downstream, but currently also it meets a need right now.
Some opportunities to attend training sessions in another department.
Yeah, there's a plus there, and then also just on the older systems, the repair maintenance cost will continue to go up. So we noted that was getting significant. This will lower that.
Okay. So therefore, I need a motion for this.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I move to approve requisition 9220 up to the amount of $57,875.40 to CDW-G for the purchase of teleconferencing hardware.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's an attachment that looks like there's another piece to this. It
Okay.
looks like requisition 9220 and purchase order 9230 in the amount of $2,275.54.
Okay. So we have those two.
Yeah.
Therefore, do we have a second? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The motion is passed for both the 9220 and 9230. Okay. Thank you. Last on the agenda is the board member items, and basically it's just an update from the board members who have had any activity within the fire district as it relates to the fire district since our last board meeting. And so we'll go around the room, and this time we'll start with Corey.
Well, I had a good meeting, not in person, which was sad, but with Chief on the telephone to go over some budgetary items in preparation for the meeting today, and also to put time in reviewing the 100 and something page budget manual that we all received.
Joy, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, just, well, I've been unable to leave my house really except to go grocery shopping because I'm taking care of my mom. So I haven't been able to do too much. But in my board meetings with the Verde Valley Association of Realtors, I've been urging them to contact Sedona Fire for updated information because I believe that through that association there's been some bad information going around. So I'm hoping that they'll, the president of that board and association will be calling Chief to get that information to you. Otherwise, I haven't really done too much else because I've been really busy at home, oddly enough. But that's it.
Okay, thank you. Gene, anything for us?
Well, I've been isolated in my house. Many of you perhaps, but perhaps not. And so I haven't had the opportunity since the last board meeting to interact with any of my neighbors. And I look forward to that in the coming future when we can all come together and move our chairs closer.
Okay, thank you. Al?
Nothing specific involving the fire district, except that the Sedona Wine Fest is going to decide in June whether or not it'll hold it in September, since the whole idea of social distancing is the opposite of what the Wine Fest is based on. And other than that, no, I'm surviving. I'm not too good at this, but I'm doing the best I can.
Well,
Al, we need a vodka.
yeah. Well, I, like the rest of you, have been quarantined at home, and my communications with the chief have been largely via the telephone, although we have had one or two smaller meetings to get through some of the issues we've had lingering, and we can put to rest some of them. So with that said, again, Chief, thank you for your participation in these meetings and with your staff in setting up some of these things. And also moving forward with this technology such as Zoom to bring us to a point where we can have a meeting and the public still be involved. So with that said, thank you all for your participation, and I will call this meeting adjourned.